What time is it?
Tea time!
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Tea Time, episode 17. We got quite a bit to get to here. Let's start off with what's fresh in our minds, the NCAA men's and women's tournaments. Frazier has gone down, down goes Goliath. However you want to put the cliche, but UConn women have lost after 111 wins in a row. Easily a dynasty that's bigger than dynasty. We just don't have a word for it. But the UConn women fall to Ole Miss. And now Ole Miss will face South Carolina in the women's final, which I kind of hope to see them win. I mean, I'd hate for them to take down the monster known as UConn and then fall short in the final. But then we go on to the men's Final Four. That happened. As you know, in my last podcast, I picked my Final Four originally was Villanova, Arizona, Oregon, and North Carolina. Well, as you know, only two of those ended up being correct. I picked Oregon and North Carolina, and ended up being Gonzaga and South Carolina. And as much as I really, really wanted Frank Martin to pull off the win there, Gonzaga was just too much. And they made it to their first ever NCAA final. And I really, really still believed in Oregon making it and winning it all. Unfortunately, they just come up too short. The size of North Carolina kind of had their way with Oregon most of the game. Oregon did manage to match them in rebounds, and I'm very proud to be a Duck fan. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to come up falling short by 1 point. So now we have the blue blood powerhouse basketball North Carolina Tar Heels versus the mid-major of all mid-majors, the original Cinderella story 20 years ago when they made their first Elite Eight run in Gonzaga. I think North Carolina wins this game. I want North Carolina to win this game. I am a Tar Heel fan. As much as it pained me for Oregon to lose, I guess it wasn't too bad for me since I was kind of in a win-win. But I think the Tar Heels pull it off. I think they beat Gonzaga. It's going to be a big moment for Gonzaga. North Carolina can't play like they played against Oregon against Gonzaga. But I think North Carolina will pull it through. And I want to see them pull it through, not just as a fan, but I really don't care for Gonzaga, to be honest with you. But I think Gonzaga does have a legitimate chance at winning this game, solely because of the fact North Carolina had to put so much into beating Oregon. They may come up short 2 days later. Joel Berry is not 100%. I mean, North Carolina missed 4 free throws in the final seconds of the game and just got lucky to get that offensive rebound to win the game. I mean, they very easily and probably should have lost in those final seconds. When you can't hit free throws like that, you have every right to lose that game. But nonetheless, I think North Carolina wins. I believe they'll win, but I would not be surprised if Gonzaga pulls it off. It's just a matter of who gets the other to play their type of game. Is it going to be North Carolina ball or is it going to be Gonzaga ball? If whichever team sets the tone and sets the focus, that's the team that's going to win the game. Period. Moving on from college basketball, we'll get to NBA basketball. A lot of the playoff teams are pretty much set. Blazers, who were, I believe, at 1 point 7 games out of the playoffs, are now 3 games above the Nuggets. That trade of Nurkic and a first-rounder for Mason Plumlee is looking worse and worse every day for the Denver Nuggets now. They gave up a pretty good player, and they just weren't using him right, and they gave up a first-rounder as well to the Blazers for Mason Plumlee, who's been a very nice piece for them, but he hasn't been playing like Nurkic. But that's basically the 8 seed's the only seed left to decide in the West, and it's pretty much going to be Portland's. Then on the East side, there's a 3-way tie for 7th and 8th, or the 3 teams tied for those 2 seeds, and one will end up losing. But Boston Celtics have caught the Cavaliers and actually have a game up on them right now. If I'm the Cavaliers, I am a little bit worried. Because, like I said last year for the Warriors, It's not the one team that beats them. It's the 1,000 cuts. How far are you going to get pushed? And as much as I think the Cavs will still make it to the final, but I think what's going to happen to them is what happened to the Warriors last year. They're just going to have too hard of a road, and eventually it's going to catch up to them. I mean, with the Warriors, they're able to beat the Jazz in the first round, and then the Blazers in the second round pushed them way farther than they're supposed to, and then they had to come back down 3-1 to the Thunder to even get out of the West at that point. And by the time they got to the Cavs, I mean, they got a big jump. They went up 3-1, but they just ran out of steam. They couldn't keep it going. And my fear for the Cavs is if they're the 2 seed, they're going to be playing the Bulls first round, and the Bulls swept him this regular season. That doesn't mean the Bulls are going to beat them as a 7 seed, so don't get me wrong there. But it's going to probably end up being a 5 to 6 game series. And then in the second round, they're going to be facing the 3 seed more likely, which will probably be the Wizards. And the Wizards match up pretty well with them. And that's not an easy team. That's a team that if anyone I think has a real shot at being the Cavaliers, it's them. I think the Wizards would prefer them to be a 1 seed just so they don't have to face them until the final. But I mean, the Wizards will push them, and that game's going to go to, I think that series will go to 7. And then you have Boston, who's probably going to team at the end. Boston might be able to dethrone them if they just keep getting tired. But if Boston pushes them as well, you're looking at a team that might be facing an average of 6 games a series going into the finals, which, let's face it, Warriors, Spurs, whichever one of them come out of it, maybe the Clippers like I originally thought, but injuries kind of derailed their season a little bit, and not making a move at the deadline hurt them too. But I mean, not to say they won't, but it's going to be a tough path for the Cavaliers, and they're just not playing right. They really are. They're just kind of stumbling to the postseason, which is not good, and that's not a signature LeBron team. They usually finish strong and then make a push in the playoffs. But right now, they're not looking so good. That doesn't mean they can't win it. That doesn't mean they can't turn it on. But, I mean, they need to get Larry Saunders in shape and on the floor because he will help dramatically. I thought they were going to be a force picking up Darren Williams and Bogut, but then Bogut gets hurt, so that doesn't help. But they did bring in Larry Saunders, but Saunders has been out for 2 years, so he's a little bit rusty. But, you get him just half of what he used to be, and that's good enough and better defensively than most players in the league. And then you go on to the MVP race. And this has been a topic of hot debate till nauseum. But like I said last year, Damian Lillard was my pick. I didn't think he was going to win it, but I believed he should have won it. Because your vote should be based on a few things. What is an MVP to you? What is the MVP to the voters? Is it the player that had the best season? Is it the most valuable player to their team? Is it the player that is the best in the league? What is it? If it's the best player in the league, it's still LeBron. Period. Still LeBron. If it's a person who's had the best statistical season, it's Russell Westbrook. Hands down. Is it the person that's most valuable to their team? Definitely can make an argument for LeBron. I don't think you can make that argument for Westbrook solely because the fact they're going to be probably a 6 seed, possibly 7, less likely, but a 6 seed, and they're not catching 3 or 4. That's where I think James Harden comes into play. Is Harden's having a pretty good season, and he's a lot more valuable. I think the Rockets are worse off without Harden than I think both teams are screwed if they lose Westbrook or Harden. So that's a bad example. But I think Harden maybe means a lot more. I mean, well, I guess he's more valuable because they win. Period. Westbrook, they'll lose with him and they'll lose without him. Rockets win with Harden and lose without him. I guess is the best way to put that. But if I'm going to make my pick, I think I look at all 3 of those things and I think what's the most important. And I kind of personally, as much as I want to give to Westbrook because he's been a triple-double machine and that's insane, I kind of actually want to give it to a combination to all 3 and give it to Kawhi Leonard. Oh, yes, I said Kawhi Leonard. Not LeBron, not Harden, not Westbrook. The reason why is Kawhi Leonard is improved in every aspect of his game. And the Spurs don't win without Kawhi, and Kawhi is having a great season. And Kawhi is the best defensive player in the league. He has surpassed LeBron. But I give it to Kawhi, and it's not a big margin, and I don't care who wins it, to be perfectly honest with you, but I give it to Kawhi, and I'm probably going to be wrong like I was last year, but my opinion, it was Lillard last year taking a team that had lost Aldridge and making them a 5 seed, and a team that was predicted to finish in the bottom 3. Kawhi is improved in every aspect of his game. He is the best defensive player in the league, and the Spurs don't win without him, period. To me, that makes him the MVP this year. And I wouldn't have said that 2 months ago. I think Westbrook will walk away with it, but my MVP is Kawhi Leonard, and I'd like to see Kawhi Leonard get it. And I'm not going to break down Sixth Man and Rookie of the Year and all those awards. I mean, Rookie of the Year is really interesting because there really isn't one. But I'm going to break down a little bit, but Most Improved Player should be Jusuf Nurkic, and it shouldn't even be a contest. And I'll explain. Nurkic was traded right before the deadline from the Nuggets to the Blazers. He was barely playing. He was playing early, didn't fit with what the Nuggets were doing. He was averaging 4 points and a rebound a game, something ridiculous like that. He goes to the Blazers and instantly becomes a double-double machine. He's had 1 game without double-digit points, and I believe he's had 3 games without double-digit rebounds. But he put up one of the most impressive stat lines of the year in his, I believe it was 36 points, 22 rebounds, 6 blocks, 9 assists. Something ridiculous like that, which is good. Obviously, it didn't end up a triple-double, but still, Westbrook's not getting 8 blocks or 20-plus rebounds. But I think Nurkic should be a Most Improved Player of the Year because he'll be officially play. I believe he's hurt right now, unfortunately, so that might hurt him now. But I believe he ended up playing 22 regular season games with the Blazers, helped them overcome their deficit, and now they're almost a lock for the playoffs. I believe their magic number is 3 without Nuggets losses or something like that. But he's the Most Improved Player. I mean, you go from a guy not barely averaging 5 points and a rebound to now averaging, I believe, it's 16 points and 12 rebounds with some blocks. I mean, seriously, Most Improved. He didn't do that even in his best years at Denver. So to me, I think it's no competition. You give it to Jusuf Nurkic. And to give my prediction as far as the playoffs go, I think we're going to see a Warriors-Cavs rematch. I originally picked the Clippers, but that was also based on the fact before Paul got hurt and when I thought they were going to get Carmelo Anthony. They didn't get Carmelo Anthony. Chris Paul got hurt. They dropped some games. I don't think they're going to make it now. I don't think they have the horses. Maybe next year, but I just don't think they have the horses right now to be able to do it. So I'm going to go with the rematch of Warriors-Cavs. And I'll give you my full predictions when the playoffs are fully set, just like I did when I first started this show last year. But that's where I have it right now. MVP Kawhi Leonard, Cavs-Warriors rematch for the 3rd straight year, Jusuf Nurkic, Player of the Year. Now to switch sports here before we go to an ad break. Baseball has started, and I love me some opening day baseball. But I'm not going to get into detail right now. That's going to be saved for next week's episode. But I think it's only customary that I give a prediction here. But if I was to, well, that's a weird way to put it. But I'm going to give you the teams I think they're going to win each division. No wild cards, just the divisions. But I think Seattle Mariners are going to win the AL West. Not by a lot, because that's a pretty tough division. I think the Cleveland Indians are going to win the AL Central. I think the Boston Red Sox are going to win the AL East. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to win the NL West, as much as that pains me. I know the Chicago Cubs are going to win the NL Central. And I believe the Washington Nationals will win the NL East. Now, my World Series picks, before I get too into detail, I think we're going to have Cubs-Red Sox. I'm not going to predict a winner yet, but I think it's going to be Cubs-Red Sox. Now, I'm putting a lot of stock in the Cubs repeating, but they're so young and they're so good still. They overachieved last year, and I think they can do it again. I mean, they didn't get worse. I mean, they did lose Dexter Fowler, but I don't think that's going to be as big of a loss as people think. I really don't. But I think the Cubs will make it back. I do not believe the Indians will. I believe it will be the Cubs versus the Red Sox. And I'll give you their predictions another time. And let's do a quick ad break. Trenton here from Tea Time with Trenton, Eugene Sports Podcast. And if you need to get around town, Eugene Hybrid Taxi is the way to go. They have fast and friendly drivers as well as awesome owners. I would know. I'm one of their drivers. Call dispatch and make appointments for airport pickups or just, someplace to get around town, maybe go to a Duck game. And if you happen to get me as your driver, you tell me what time it is, I'll give you 10% off your next fare. Eugene Hybrid Taxi. Clean, friendly, and reliable. All right, so now we're going to get back into it here. And some big news for the NFL. I'm not going to cover a lot right now, but I'll be doing some draft previewing. But the Raiders have officially moved to Las Vegas. It was voted on. It was 31-1 votes. It's going to happen. And I, as a Raider fan, couldn't be more excited. And from what I understand, a lot of Oakland Raider faithful are not very happy about it. But I'm going to be real with you Raider fans. I'm a part of Raider Nation just like you. It's not a horrible move to Vegas. They're not going, halfway across the country. They're not going to Charlotte. They're not going to Baltimore. They're not going to Louisiana, Minnesota. Pick a state, Oklahoma. They're not going across the country. They're going to Las Vegas. What is that, an hour flight maybe for you? And Vegas, the capital of cheap flights, because everyone wants to go there and they want you there because you make the money by going to the casinos. Heck, you thought tailgating was good before. Oh, here we go. It's going to be awesome. The new state-of-the-art stadium, Vegas won them, Vegas got them. As much as I hate the fact that, an owner can't pay for his own stadium and he needs public money, but the bottom line is plenty of chances for them to stay in Oakland, but no one was willing to help. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but no one was. And, you should feel glad they're going to Vegas. They were almost going to San Antonio. But going to Vegas means you're a short drive and a short flight away. Well, I don't know how. I think the drive's still like 6 hours. But it's not that far. It's not ridiculous to go there. It's still a short ways away, and they're still your Raiders. They're not changing everything about them like whatever the LA Chargers are doing. It's going to be the exact same thing, just in Vegas. And who knows? Instead of making it a Sunday thing, you can make it a whole weekend thing. Yeah, not everybody's going to be able to go all the time like you used to, maybe. It sucks. It's not in your back door anymore. But there's a lot worse. And I understand the move. Do you know how many Raiders fans there are all up the West Coast? Now everyone can go. It's not just Oakland. Because there's going to be people in Vegas that want to go, but it's really going to be people from outside of Vegas that go. Just all around it was a smart move. It would have been nice to stay in Oakland because they are the Oakland Raiders, but now they're the Las Vegas Raiders. And I like the move. I think it was a good move. I'm not against it. Now I can hop on a plane for $40 to $60 and go see a Raiders game instead of hopping on a plane that's going to cost me $200 to go to Oakland. Bottom line, just at a certain point, you're just going to have to understand. And then it's not, like I said, it's not like they moved so far away and now you're never going to have them again. I know I'm going to get backlash from fellow Raider fans, but the bottom line is there's worse places and farther places they can go than Vegas. They almost ended up in San Antonio. Then we'd have a reason to riot. I don't think Vegas gets the reason to riot. I think we should almost thank them because now you don't have to spend the money and you're still pretty close. It's going to cost you an extra maybe $60 to go see a game now, possibly $100 depending on what you're going to do. But I think it was a good move, and Raiders fans, I think you need to just accept it and move on. Now to end the show, I'm going to be talking about a nice little special award for Bonehead of the Year. And we have 2 candidates, 2 people up for it. I had a little hiatus there without some podcasts. Those of you who follow my Twitter know why. But I'm going to get into something 2 different people said. And here's the runner-up. Kim Mulkey, the head coach of Baylor women basketball. She commented on this a while ago, and since then has kind of backpedaled and retracted, but I don't care. But she made comments in response to the Baylor sexual assault cases for the football team. And I quote, "If somebody around you and they ever say, I never want to send my daughter to Baylor, you knock them right in the face. Because these kids are on this campus. I work here. My daughter went to school here, and it's the damn best school in America." And later goes on to say that this type of thing, the sexual assaults, happen in all the colleges, all the universities. Yeah, I don't know how to put this lightly, but you're wrong. Yes, bad things, stupid mistakes, wrong things happen at all campuses. Not 53 cases of it, not an entire show of negligence by an entire football staff encouraging it. You are an idiot. And I dare one of your followers to punch me in the face to say I wouldn't send my daughter to Baylor, or anyone. I dare you. Because it's a joke. Baylor should get the death penalty for football. What you should have gone on the front is telling parents and kids that they can trust you, that you'll do what you can to make sure everything's right. Because just to try and say, oh, it happens everywhere and ignore it, Baylor's the best damn university. No, Baylor sucks. It deserves the death penalty. You're lucky to still be standing with that many counts of sexual assault and evidence. And I don't even know. I'm so flushed I don't go. I have a 3-month-old daughter. And if she ends up growing up to play basketball and wants to play, you bet your damn good money she's not going to Baylor. And she's not going to play for Kim Mulkey, wherever the hell she is. And I hope she loses the rest of her games. I will root against Baylor. Like I said earlier, I'm a Tar Heel fan. I root against Duke. I'll root against Baylor all the time. I'm happy you lost in the freaking Elite Eight. You're a joke. That's just stupid commentary by you. I don't care if you backtracked. I don't care any of that. You don't try and defend a university that covered up what happened. Well, let me rephrase that. The football team tried to cover it up. Maybe the university didn't. I don't know. But the bottom line is, stop trying to pretend like Baylor's this great place. No, Baylor is a joke right now. Baylor deserves the death penalty. They didn't get it. And, good for Matt LaRue from Temple to take over the job and try to do what he's going to do. I wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot pole, and they shouldn't have football there, period. Don't sit there and tell people to punch them in the face. There's going to be a lot of freaking Baylor people who are going to get knocked the hell out. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. I dare you to hit me in the face. I don't hit women. It's part of the reason why I'm not on trial for sexual assault. I don't abuse women. I don't treat them poorly. But you're way out of line. And if it wasn't for the next person, you'd be the biggest Dumbo of the year. I mean, seriously, I've had to sit on that for the last month. But you're a joke. I don't think you should lose your job, but I hope there's a parents' room that you go in and they read those comments like, I don't think my daughter should go to Baylor. Are you going to hit me in the face? Like, seriously, grow up. Get over it. How about you go about it in a way of, we're changing things. We're not going to let this stop us. We had nothing to do with it. I keep a good watch on my girls. All these things. No. Get over it. Baylor's great. Yeah, shut the hell up. But if it wasn't for Albert Lord, a Penn State guy, for his comments, you would be the Dumbo of the year. But no, this guy, he takes the cake. He wrote a letter to the Chronicle of Higher Education about the whole Sandusky situation. But let me read you his words. Running out of sympathy for the 35-year-old so-called victims with 7-digit net worth. Do you understand why they're so prominent? Do not understand why they're so prominent in trial. As you learned, Graham Spanier never knew Sandusky abused anyone. Yeah. I'm tired of victims getting in the way of clear thinking and reasoned approach to who knew what and who did what. The notion that there can be only one point of view with respect to all this stuff, and trustees at Penn State should toe a line that reflects the political correct point of view, is sympathetic of what ails us. Symbolic of what ails us. Apologize, I butchered that reading a little bit. Yeah. Where do I even begin? He didn't know about Sandusky. wasn't there already emails that proved he knew about Sandusky? That's probably why he got indicted for child endangerment. Sandusky's a monster, and I'm glad he's put away. I really, really hope this doesn't let go. Penn State should be removing this trustee, Albert Lord, and I hope they remove him quickly. And the funny thing is, Penn State was reinstated early because they've shown signs that they've made a turn, that they're not going to let this stop them, that this is all going to change, that they're not the same thing, that like something like this will never happen again. Yet they have a guy that's a trustee on the board that says he's sick of the so-called 35-year-old victims that are now worth 7 digits. Why are they worth 7 digits? I don't know. Maybe because your university let a man molest them when they were kids, young adults, whatever it may be. They're not so-called victims. They actually are victims, Mr. Lord. And frankly, I think you should be made a victim of something else as well. Your comments are idiotic. Your letter is stupid. I hope you get fired. I don't understand. I guess the rich people can say what they want. Former CEO of Sallie Mae. I mean, I don't know. You're defending a university that admitted they were wrong. They took down the Joe Paw statue. They did everything they could because they knew we covered up Sandusky. We screwed up. We took a 6-year ban. Yet, after 4 years, you get the ban, or maybe been 3, removed so you can go to bowl games because it's not fair to punish the current players because they had nothing to do it. How about the players don't come? I don't understand. I mean, Baylor's football needed to get the death penalty. I sure don't understand why yours didn't. At least you got a 6-year ban. We're still waiting to hear on Baylor. But the fact that you even would make the comment, so-called victims, what do you call that? Are the Baylor women so-called victims? Is the girl Joe Mixon punched a so-called victim? No, I think they're actual victims that were victimized, like what it says in the dictionary, where something happened to them that they did not want. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter what these so-called victims did. They didn't deserve that from Sandusky, and they sure as hell did not deserve it for it to be covered up by Penn State. And they sure as hell don't deserve you calling them so-called victims because they got paid because they were molested by a university that covered it up. They're not the bad guys. You are. Whether you did it or not, you're now defending the stance and saying there needs clearer thinking. No, the thinking's pretty clear. He got indicted. Sandusky's in jail. You're an idiot. And if Penn State's smart, they're going to get themselves so far away from you that they're going to pay to fly you to frickin' Alaska. Frickin' moron. Congratulations. You're the dumbass of the year. Excuse my language, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. But that's all we have for you today. Until that time.
What time is it?